How have you been romantic to me lately?
Those things don't have to do with the actual act of performing sex.
That's not romantic. So how do couples get the intimacy spark going?
How can I be romantic when I'm not at a good place internally to feel just myself?
Oh, Lord, we thank you for bringing us here, giving us a place, a platform to share your word, share your love. We pray for the couples out there who are listening to this, that they would gain something from it, Lord, that you would speak to them, that you would reach them, and that marriages and relationships would be transformed. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We're not perfect people.
By any means.
But by trusting in God, we learned what it takes to build a friendship,
a relationship,
and marriage that has stood the test of time.
With a Keeping It Real style, we're going to talk to you about everything.
Everything.
That we've been through.
Are going through.
And have overcome. All by learning how to lean on God and each other.
In order to help you learn how to love by faith. Welcome, everyone, to our night edition. We just came from a date.
Hey.
And we said, based on the topic that we're talking about today, we thought this would be a really good time to stay up just a little bit later and cover our episode. Because why stay up late only to wake up super early to talk about this very important topic? So
it's cool. It's like the dessert part of our day.
The nightcap.
Yeah, I get to hang out and chill, chit chat.
Yeah. I was telling you in the car, one of these days we should have a camera in the car and have the two mics, the mobile mics, and just do the podcast during our date. I think that would be fun.
Okay. Joking.
Raise your hands in the air. Quick. Put your hands on your head. Do the Macarena. Quick. Hands behind your head. Touch your hips.
Well,
are you okay? Does that work? Quick, breathe and count to 10. What's in that coffee? What's in that cup, Kyle?
Went down the wrong pipe. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you good?
Good one, yeah.
You good there? Now I'm second guessing myself. I'm like, should I have No, are you okay?
No, you did.
I just kind of watched the whole thing unfold.
It's so funny. When we're doing this podcast and I have my drink, I'm always like, don't spill it. Don't choke on it. Totally just choked on my drink.
Don't choke on your drink. That sounds like a rap song.
Yes.
Don't choke on your drink.
It could have been.
Anyways, I'm not a rapper.
No. So intimacy is the topic of the day. And we're going to try and keep it... The big picture is we're talking about the foundation of relationships.
Yes.
And having your foundation be strong, having your bricks in order, fixing those cracks, get them nice and sealed so it's tight, and having a firm, solid foundation to grow from, to build the rest of your love and your relationship on top of that solid foundation that's in order.
That's right. The foundation that we're building, you can look at it like a cake, okay? And we're going to go a little out of order in the way that you create this cake. We started with spiritual intimacy. We know that obviously, if you get spiritual, that is the highest form of intimacy that you can have with your partner. But we're going to cut a little bit here because the intimacy portion that we're going to talk about today is more so the frosting of the cake, okay? And that is the physical intimacy part.
Yeah.
Now, I just, yeah.
Woo-hoo.
I want to go ahead and just say right here, right now at the very beginning, this topic requires a whole series on its own, okay?
Yeah.
We understand that physical intimacy is very, very important to any relationship. It is God made, it is created for a man and woman to enjoy. And there are a lot of things that the enemy tries to do to interfere with that plan. And so it requires a whole lot more than just this episode. But because we are on the foundation talk of intimacy, this is actually the icing on the cake. And I think one of the things that happens is people think that it's more than just the icing. People think that it's the eggs that go into the cake. They think it's part of the cake batter when really it's not. It's the icing. It's, by the time you have a wedding and you're going through the process of getting married and you're saying your vows to your person and then you're saying the vows to God, you're having this two-directional covenant that you're making. It is to be expected that you are reaching a level of intimacy emotionally, mentally, and spiritually before you get to this point. And then they say, by the time you've said your vows and you've declared your love to the public, to the church, to the state, then you may kiss the bride. That is the physical, portrayal of you sealing the covenant with two bodies becoming one. Obviously, you can't go ahead and have a bed at the altar, right? So you use the kiss, right? Yeah. Two bodies becoming one is the kiss. You may now kiss your bride. The physical intimacy part is now brought into the relationship. But notice it is always the last part. But a lot of the times, and the reason why people have some problems in this area is we often make it the first part.
Yeah. I think it's something that outside of the church, even in the church, that couples, I think, rushing into physicality.
Yes.
Rushing into marriage so that they can get to physicality.
Yes.
And they miss the other parts of the cake.
Yeah.
They miss the other super necessary bricks in the foundation. Because, if you just go, I know, and it sounds so basic, but just going from 0 to 100 in the physicality before marriage is just it gets in the way. It gets in the way. It can get in the way of the friendship building.
Yes.
It can get in the way of the looking really like, can I work with this person? It gets in the way of the team because then it triggers such a thing that you need your physical needs met.
Yes.
Right? And you skip
such a strong, passionate desire.
Rushing into the physicality will just it puts kind of a chink in the armor of your friendship, right? Because
and everything, and communication, because you think, okay, we are having a fight, and instead of actually talking through and resolving the issues that you have in the fight, you just have makeup sex. And it's like, okay, we're better now because we're so passionate for each other and our chemistry is there. And whew, I'm so glad that we were able to come together. We
love each other because we could do it.
You know what I mean? But it didn't fix anything. You guys are still having brokenness in there. And so, or, people get sexually frustrated or they feel sexually rejected or they feel very insecure when it comes to, having sex, or, you for women, we have a lot of hormone imbalances and that affects sex. And so all of these things, it looks physical, but there's so many layers that make it not physical. And if you're not being intimate or you're being deeply connected with your partner in those other areas, it's very easy to just write it off as just, it's because of sex.
Sure.
We're not good at it, or it's boring, or we don't do it enough, or we do it too much, or he doesn't care about me, or she never wants me,
right?
And all of these things. But it's like, really, those things don't have to do with the actual act of performing sex. It has to do with some
symptoms.
There's symptoms. It's not the diagnosis of what the real problem is. And I think that's where the intimacy part comes into play, because if you don't know how to get intimate in the other areas, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then it's going to get very difficult and becomes a challenge to then learn how to pour that into a physical intimacy in your relationship.
Yeah. So it's funny, when you're talking about this stuff, I go back to, gosh, I bet you were married like 2 or 3 years at the most.
Okay.
Before kids. And you said to me one time, you said, how have you been romantic to me lately?
Mm.
What was the last thing you did that was romantic?
Okay.
And I went over all this list of, well, I did this and I did that. And you're like, that's not romantic. That's not romantic.
Mm.
That's not romantic.
Dang.
And you were like, that's that's being a good friend. That's being a good husband. That's being kind. But those aren't romantic things.
Okay.
And you pointed out like, hey, you could, you know, do this and that's romantic. We could get dressed up and go do something. That's romantic. We can, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can rub my feet. That's romantic.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And the disconnect of I think a lot of times guys and girls will disconnect on what the other person views as romantic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a huge one for getting that intimacy connection in place. Is guys will intend to be romantic. Like I think I'm being romantic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But if it's not being received that way, then it's not romantic.
It's really hard to experience romance in a relationship when there are so many other things that are off.
Mm.
If I'm stressed out about something and you try to be romantic, I might be like, now's not a good time.
Right.
It might not be received well. Sometimes it could be really challenging to be romantic in a relationship because sometimes it's forced.
Mm.
Sometimes it can come off like you're only being romantic because you want something out of this.
Yeah.
And then if you're not careful, depending on where the headspace is with the other person, it might be perceived as you're only doing this to get something out of it. You're not doing it because you actually want to be romantic. You're doing this because you actually want to spend time with me. And, that could be hard. That could be hard for couples. Some couples are super comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
And they could be naked and unashamed about anything.
Mm-hmm.
They are totally secure in each other and they can have a great time and they explore their sex life and they're great. Other people go through things that affect how they feel or affect their rest level, their energy level, their hormone level. Some people are insecure about how they feel. I mean, I know for me having 3 children,
how they look,
how I looked,
Yeah.
how I felt when I looked. I don't even feel sexy anymore. Like, how can I be romantic when I'm not at a good place internally to feel just myself?
Yeah.
And that could often happen in a relationship. And it's really hard to get there. It's really hard to enjoy it. It's really hard to have fun with it and explore that area when other things are just not where they need to be.
The balance there is so
it's very tricky and
I was
fragile.
gonna say delicate. Yeah,
delicate.
It's delicate. It's just we get into partners growing.
Yeah.
And changing. And so the guys, I know me, if it works, I'll go back to that. Go back to it again. I'll go back to it again.
Mm-hmm.
But it can get played out. If you're going to the same romantic gestures, and let's say I just be buying you flowers. I know you love flowers.
Yeah.
But if it's flowers and then I'm like, hey, I bought you, if you're using it as leverage.
Yes.
Hey, I bought you flowers. I thought we could, we could get busy later.
It becomes transactional.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Yes, it's very dangerous. That's very dangerous.
Slippery slope. Not dangerous, slippery slope. Because then anytime you do something that could be perceived as romantic, she'll be
I don't want it. I don't want it.
She'll be rejecting the gift or she'll be rejecting the offering. And it's, if it's just a tool, if it's just a lure, that's a hard place to be, bro.
It's a hard place to be, but it's also just like for couples, you're told do this and this is going to be the result. Be romantic, be intentional, and your partner will love you. You will be able to love your partner and you guys can become physically and it will be amazing, mind-blowing, and all these things. And that's not always the case.
Right.
That's never the case.
Life happens.
Life be lifing, and you got to be mindful.
Yeah.
And you got to be in tune with them in the other areas. firmly believe that is the only way that both of you guys are going to get in the mood for sex. I had this video on YouTube. It was I think it was the highest viewed video. Like, if I wanted to monetize my channel, this was going to be the money maker. Okay. I felt the calling this year to take it down because I don't want to be known for this topic. I don't want people searching for me for this topic. But the name of the video was How to Get in the Mood for Sex.
Okay.
And a lot of guys were jumping on this video trying to figure out, okay, what's the formula to get sex? I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't want to be known for that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so much more delicate. It's so much more. The mission is, how do I get to know my person?
Yes.
You know, in the Bible, Adam knew Eve. Eve knew Adam. You know, I don't know why they used that phrase back then, but it clearly meant more back then than it does today, right? Yeah. They knew each other. And I think we stopped trying to have that pursuit to really deeply, intimately know our person in order for us to be in a position where we can know them physically.
Yeah, that's good. That knowing your partner, that intimacy, the physical intimacy is just a
expression, outward pleasure.
It's part of the overflow of having a good balance. Rest of your intimate life, rest of your life with your partner. You know what I mean? The intimacy is the overflow. So how do couples get the intimacy spark going to you, Selina?
You got to be intentional, which is hard because if you were sexually active before you got married, then you have preconceived intentions or notions or expectations, right? Depends if you were struggling with a sexual addiction thing before.
Yeah.
So then again, that's being carried in. It depends on how much baggage you're bringing in. Right?
Yeah.
You might have routine sex. You might have had a relationship for a really long time and you do the same thing every single night, same position, same style, same nighty. And you know, it is what it is and it's done. Right? Or it's too long and she hates it and it's done. Right? You might be only...
Or it's too quick and she hates it and it's done.
You might be pleasing only yourself. Oof. You might be only in there to just get yours and be done.
Yeah.
And then that person either feels like, I just have to submit to that and it is what it is.
Yeah.
I got used and it is what it is. Some people might be doing it because they have other motives. They want to multiply. And then it becomes
a job.
It's time.
Work. Yeah.
I'm in my day bracket. I'm in my zone. We gotta come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
And it becomes this task. And then God forbid, if you don't have children or you're trying to, then month after month, it's like, all right, show up, report for duty. Yeah. We got to go. Come on. We got to get this going. We got to get this going because you have another motive. And so all of these things are ways that you are disconnecting intimately. Right. And there's so much more. And again, we're going to cover all of these things, but all of these things are stopping you from connecting intimately.
They're roadblocks.
Or
speed bumps, at least.
Speed bumps, disconnects, malfunctions, short fuse, whatever you want to call them. You know, you're the pun guy. Whatever you want to call them, they could be there. Sure. They could be hiding in plain sight, and you would have no idea, right?
Yeah, and I think guys can get hung up on not feeling wanted.
Yeah. Rejection.
Guys get hung up on every time they try, she's got a headache.
Yeah.
And that can just
like, what's the point of even asking anymore?
I'm not. It's done. That's it.
Yeah.
Guys can get hung up on wanting to do things that are way outside of their wife's comfort zone.
Yes.
And then they take it personally that she doesn't like me enough.
She doesn't want to do this with me. Why not?
Right, she doesn't like me enough.
Dude, no, I just don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's just...
I'm not comfortable with that.
That's weird.
That's good. That's weird. That's weird.
That's weird.
I mean, the marriage bed is sacred.
Yes.
But your personal preference and comfort...
Right.
You got to talk about it.
You got to work it out.
Just because it's sacred doesn't mean it's easy for you to just do anything and everything. Right? Doesn't mean that belongs there.
I think for couples who are... really, like, it's a great sign if you want to be intimate, right?
Yes.
If both partners want to be intimate,
yes,
that's sweet.
Yes.
But a lot of times, like you said, there's things that happen we dealt with it when you had a miscarriage.
Yeah.
After a miscarriage, you're on a recovery. You're heartbroken in a way you can't imagine being heartbroken.
Yeah.
Right? Infertility. If you've been, like you said, if you've been working and trying, they're not, the guy is still gonna want to,
I'm still going to have my needs met.
yes, and the woman's just gonna be so
I don't
upset.
want to come. This is a very
Right.
traumatic, disappointing thing.
Right. The go-to in those situations where it's really extreme, it's really hard, is starting small.
Yes.
Right? If there's a major disconnect in your intimacy, it starts small. Start with just making sure you spend 30 seconds of eye contact. Right? Just hold that eye contact for 30. You don't have to say anything, nothing. Just look your person in the eye. You can hold their hand, that helps. But just that 30 seconds of just being there connected with them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's one look.
You blinked.
So childish. It's but then you go from there. Go to having a 30-second hug.
Hug. Yeah.
Right? You build on it. You go the eye contact to the hug, right?
Yeah.
And then you make sure you're kissing regularly.
Yes.
Right? Good.
Yes, making out, guys. Let's normalize making out in a relationship.
Good, right. Make sure
it's okay if you do it in front of your kids.
Absolutely.
It's okay.
It's just a kiss. We're not talking like tonsil hockey. We're not talking tonsil hockey in front of the kids. Just it's okay.
It's okay to show them that you want to be close and intimate with your spouse.
Right.
It's okay to show them what a good marriage looks like on a physical level.
You better be showing them what a good marriage looks like, right? You're here listening to us. That means you care enough to really try.
Yes.
So you're already you're already winning by trying.
That's it.
But when the intimacy gets hard, doing those small things, starting over at the beginning, and then once you get to the point where it's like, all right, we're in a good spot here.
How do we take it to the bedroom?
Let's make being physical a priority.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I remember, you want to tell this story?
I could.
Because you came to me.
It was my idea.
You came to me with this.
Yes.
And so, guys, imagine what this is like. I think this is a good spot to take a break, drink some coffee.
Hey everybody, this is Kyle. Thank you so much for your support and listening to this podcast. This year, as we go through our foundation series, we wanted to offer you a new handout. Hot off the presses, it's called the Relationship Resource Toolkit. This handout is a list compiled by Selina and me, of course, as a useful tool. What we think are great devotionals, books, podcasts, and Bible readings. These are tools you and your partner can use to help learn and grow and understand more about your relationship. Take your relationship to the next level with this toolkit. These were all things that have helped us along the way, and now we have a one-stop shop for you. Use the link in the description to download the free Relationship Resource Toolkit and keep choosing to love by faith.
Okay, so I cannot take credit for this. This is an idea that's been tossed around for a while now. I personally got this idea from the book Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. Okay. And she said that something she did to help build the intimacy with her late ex-husband was to do a 30-day challenge.
Okay.
Where you would try to have sexual relations with your spouse for 30 days. Okay?
Like whatever, at least once a day for 30 days.
Yes. Okay, so I went to Kyle and I was like, Kyle, I really strongly think we should do this, right? This was right before.
I said, all right, let's go.
Okay.
Start today.
We can start today. You're so silly. This was before we had child number 3. This was before the miscarriage. This was before the infertility. This was just, we were coming out of a very rough season. We were very disconnected on other levels.
Yeah, was this when we were renovating the house?
This was renovating the house. This was, the mom situation.
Oh, my mother just passed away.
Mother passed away. My mother moved away. I had Solomon. And so postpartum was very heavy.
So you see, we had all these outside distractions.
A lot of things that were happening.
Yeah.
and we noticed that our physical life was struggling on top of the other things that we should have
Right.
focused on, but the
Our
physical life,
intimacy
it
was out
was
of
rough.
balance. Yeah.
So I said, sometimes you have to make some drastic measures to see some drastic transformation.
Yeah.
And did I want to have sexual relations for 30 days? No, I didn't. But I knew if I did it consistently, whether it was 2 minutes long or whether it was 2 hours long, I knew that somewhere within 30 days, there would be a breakthrough.
I know what you guys are thinking, and it's not always just intercourse. Okay.
It definitely was not. It was not. I mean, eventually you're going to get tired of
Right.
doing it.
Right.
Eventually bodies are going to need rest, okay? And you know, I don't know how you guys do it, what your style is, but you know, a woman might be thinking like, he's too rough. I can't do that for 30 days, or you know, it goes too long. I can't do that for 30 days. It's not going to be the same style every single day. That's not the point. The point is not for him to get good every single day for 30 days. The point is you are figuring out
Yeah.
what works and what doesn't, what stops you and what helps you go.
Yeah.
You know, what turns you on and what's been turning you off.
Yeah.
You know, there were a lot of times where we would start, and not to get into the business, but there would be times where we would start and then we would stop because we were like, no, this ain't working. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Or I would feel embarrassed or ashamed, or you would feel embarrassed or ashamed, and we're stopping to talk about it. And it's like, okay, that's today. And we're not going to stay there. You know, the next time we get to this place, we're not going to be tippy-toeing around because of what happened in the last excursion. We're going to do it again tomorrow. Like, that was the beauty of it, is that if something happened or something was revealed and you learned about it, you can just do it again tomorrow. If it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, if your expectations weren't met, that's cool. We're just going to do it again tomorrow, you know?
Try it again tomorrow.
And we figured it out.
Yeah.
We figured out our intimacy level. We figured out the likes and the dislikes. We figured out, you know, how to get there when we only have 30 minutes to ourselves, and how to get there when we have a whole night to ourselves.
Yeah.
We learned about each other in such a way that no matter who's tired, no matter who's sick, no matter how bad the season is, we can now connect on a physical, intimate level, because we figured it out by being persistent, choosing not to give up, taking a drastic measure and finding the breakthrough, not resting until we found the breakthrough in that.
That's right. It was just like a fast.
Yeah.
It was
opposite.
Yeah, except you were
doing
you were going for it. And it worked out so well. I mean, now when we are facing intimacy challenges, when things come up and it's just like, this is out of line, we can see it earlier.
Yeah.
We know how to address it. We know how to adjust to it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been great.
I know what's attracting me. You know what attracts you. I know how to get in the moods. You know how to get in the mood. You know, we know what is fun. We know what to explore with each other.
And it helped. You know, what helped me is to read you.
Yeah.
To know, like, hey, this is a good day. This is a not so good day. Like,
yeah.
This is a day for me to initiate, or like, and to learn what you looked like when you were initiating. Because in that 30 days, there were times where you were that I didn't even pick up. Like, whoa, she's initiating.
Right.
I was oblivious to it.
Yes.
And so you learn that communication.
Yes.
And we've had seasons where our life was so busy that we literally would schedule and just be like,
yeah,
this day of the week, all right, cool, that works for me. This day of the week,
sexy Sunday, makeup Monday.
Yeah, we had
tongue-tie Tuesday.
No.
Wild
No.
Wednesday.
No.
Whatever you want to call it, guys.
Yes, Thirsty Thursday.
You can figure it out.
Yeah.
Freaky Friday.
It works. Yes. So in intimacy, scheduling is okay. The 30-day practice is great. It's great for the guys, because it's just like, hey, every day this is going to be awesome. But it's not.
It's a challenge.
You learn your partner.
Yes.
It's a challenge. You get tired of it. You know what I mean? But your partner learns you, and you learn your partner. Starting small with the eye contact, with the hugging, with the holding hands, learning what's romantic to your partner.
Yeah.
It's a huge things to know. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was literally years into our marriage before we
did this.
not every couple, not every wife is like you to be like, hey, wait, time out. What do you think you're doing that's romantic? You know what I mean? To be investigative.
Yeah.
Instead of just rolling her eyes and telling her friends like, this dude don't know how to be romantic.
Right. Taking it outside.
You came to me and said, look, this, you're trying here, but this ain't hitting the mark of romance. Mm-hmm. This is not, you know what I mean? If you're trying to turn me on, this ain't doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's an important talk to have with your partner. Like, hey, and as a guy, I know I've, hey, I need to feel like you want me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be every time, but sometimes I need you to come on to me like, hey, today's a great day for this.
So it just reminds me of like, I would feel that at 9 a.m, right?
Yeah.
And I'll send you a text like, can't wait to see you tonight. But then after, by the time we at 9 p.m, I'm like, man, I really hope he doesn't bring up that text that I sent 12 hours ago. Yeah. Like, I can't do it. But okay, the way we could really put a nice bow on this Valentine's edition episode is, what does physical intimacy look like? What does it look like? Like, how do you know, like, oh, we're here, we're at a great place physically? Like, what are some good signs? What are some good things? One of the things that came to me was, if you're able to, this isn't going to happen all the time,
right?
But if you find yourself just like crying after you are very close with your partner, if you get caught up in the moment to the point where you're like, I'm emotional because this is so beautiful and I could feel it and experience, and I feel so connected and close to you. That's a good example of you being physically deeply intimate with your partner, right?
Being at the peak of the intimacy.
Being at that peak. Yeah. And I mean, that's an extreme. Like, it's not going to happen all the time, but if you're able to joke around and laugh and have a very lighthearted attitude, and I'm not saying you're going to be doing knock jokes while you're knocking on while you're knocking boots, but you can be able to let your guard down.
Yeah.
The Bible says in Genesis, the man was with his wife and they were naked and unashamed. If you could be totally unashamed and just be lighthearted and, or talk about deep things, you're allowed to talk when you're having sex. Like, you're allowed to have these moments. You're allowed to have intimate conversations with your partner. You're allowed to talk about your fears or talk about your insecurities. You're allowed to know that if you go to them in this setting, it doesn't have to be so carnal, because all of the other intimacy things are coming out on full display. And that's what makes it such a wonderful moment to have together, when the two physically become one.
Yeah.
All of those things are meshing together, and you're connected mentally, and you're emotionally charged, and now you bring that physical factor in, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It becomes beautiful. And that's what God created it to be. He created it to be beautiful. He created it to be this wonderful experience, not just the physical pleasure of like, wow, that was amazing, but wow, that was so beautiful. That was
so connected to this person.
I'm so connected to you on every level.
Yeah.
And the sex is just the icing on the cake,
That's perfect. That's a great place to that's a great place to call it a night after this date night podcast, Valentine's Day edition.
Yeah. Whatever you guys choose to do on Valentine's Day, we hope that it is bringing you one step closer to loving by faith.
Yes.
And being deeply connected with your person.
Yes.
If you like what you're hearing, if you're receiving from it, we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Don't forget to leave us a review, 5 stars on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to all of the channels that you like to hear us or watch us.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. Take care.